Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the District Parent Coordinating Council's Education Roundtable. I'm your host today. I'm Patricia Elliott. I'm the treasurer for the District Parent Coordinating Council. We're going to have a wonderful show for you today. We have a beautiful event that's happening actually next week that we want to talk specifically about. And our guest today is Ms. Helene Kramer. And Helene is from United Partners for Public Education. She's a former board member, and we have her with us today. Welcome, Helene.
Thanks.
Welcome to our
show. It's great
to
be here. Thanks, Tricia.
I'm glad you're here. Well, tell me about yourself. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you here?
Okay. That's an open-ended question, but I guess I would start by saying for a very long time I've had a deep passion for children in urban public education. I've done other things in my life. I was the chief information officer at the Erie County Medical Center and so on and so forth. But I decided back in '94, which was some time ago, to run for the Buffalo Board of Education because I felt that we really needed parents, not politicians, to be making decisions for our children. So I did win an at-large seat on the Buffalo Board of Education.
Okay.
And was president of the board in '99. And even before that, I was a pesky parent. You know, just felt that parents needed to speak up and advocate for children. So I was with an organization of parents who did just that, went to speak at board meetings and so on and so forth.
What schools were you at when you were a parent? You said you were a pesky parent.
Yeah, I had children at City Honors.
Honors.
They had started at the Montessori school. One of them went to what was called Campus North at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they were in Buffalo schools from very early on with Bennett Park Montessori.
Well, with you being past board president, you said, looking at the board now and looking at it when you were board president, what are any of the differences, or are some of the problems still the same, or have we improved any at all as a district since you've been here?
That's really a tough question. I think what I found when I was on the board was that, I went in sort of, blazing, ready to get some things done, did some things early on, even got 9 votes for, was into high school reform at the time, wanted to change the high schools so that every student had something real to do when they graduated. Right. And that wasn't happening, and I think still isn't. But in any case, we'd have 9 votes and still things didn't get done. Okay. And it was very frustrating. I mean, I spent 5 years and felt at the end pretty frustrated by what we couldn't do. And I think that it's probably not all that much different now. The Board of Education makes policy, but they're not supposed to get involved in operational issues. And they're sort of up here getting information often that's filtered already. And, it makes it really hard for them to, I don't know, I just think it's a really hard position to be in. It's
a really hard. No, you were board president, and you have done some work with Read to Succeed Buffalo, right. Or you were the executive director of Read to Succeed Buffalo. Read to Succeed Buffalo. Tell me a bit about your experience as a director with Read to Succeed, and what happened. How did you become executive director of Read to Succeed Buffalo?
Yeah, I kind of got away from public education between the time I was the board president and, a few years. But I had this epiphany, I guess you'd call it, that I really needed to get back into urban public education. It felt like my calling. So, there was a job that came up for executive director of what was then Good Schools for All.
Okay.
And it seemed like a perfect fit for me, and I could use a lot of the skills that I'd gained in strategic planning and management, which I was doing at the Erie County Medical Center, and my passion for kids, and put that all together into something that would benefit kids directly. And so, we became Read to Succeed and became our own not-for-profit organization. I was there for about 8 years. And I'm really proud to say that, we went in with 2 assumptions. And one was that every child, especially the youngest children, could learn everything we attempted to teach them about literacy and reading. And the other assumption we made was that every parent wanted their child to do well.
I know I do.
Yeah, I think every parent wants that. And so, you know, we wound up getting about $4.5 million worth of grants to do kindergarten readiness, to get children ready with the skills they would need. I guess they would be called pre-literacy skills, so alphabet knowledge, letter identification, print concepts. And those kids, I'm telling you, we track them, we assess them 3 times a year, we track them into the school system. The kids did fabulously well.
Wow.
And the parents, you know, when they knew exactly what, you know, strategies they could use to help their children, they were so proud to be able to do that. And so, you know, I'm really tickled that we were able to help so many children get a good start in kindergarten.
I was at a meeting, the Attendance Summit, just a couple days ago. And one of the things that kept resounding in that conversation with Hetty Chang was that the truth of the matter is that we want our children to be in school and be in attendance, but the truth is that kids have to have relationship. Relationship is the basic foundation for success in any kind of way. So when we're talking about establishing relationships, I guess when you were at Read to Succeed, you established really key relationships with the children that were in your program, and then from that relationship that was built, I imagine, with them going on to school, pre-K, kindergarten, you know, how do you see, do you believe that relationship is a basic foundation, or creating a relationship is a basic foundation to a child's education, a child's learning?
I think without question that's certainly a big factor. Children have to know that they're loved and they're cared about, and, you know, adults are trusted to do what's right for them. So, you know, we have a lot of people. In fact, we had a coalition of organizations that worked with us to ensure that children had the kinds of services they needed. And, you know, so that was really important. In large measure, what we did was to work with the teachers in the Head Start classrooms.
That's where I wanted to go with this.
Yeah. So they, you know, they had often, I think most often, had master's degrees, but not as much education around literacy and early reading. So that's what we did. And we had literacy coaches that modeled and taught and worked with the teachers and showed them how to use data, specifically what the children need, you know, in terms of either one-on-one instruction or small groups or whole class instruction. And the children who started, I mean, I have to tell you, we used to measure, we still do, I think, the chronological age of the child versus the developmental age of the child. And so when we started with the kids, I mean, that's what the gap is. You know, the kids, the 3-year-old kids, their average chronological age when we started was 3 years and 5 months. Their average developmental age was 2 years and 3 months. So that's that big gap, right? And so what we were able to do by the end is not only get the kids to where they're supposed to be for their age, but they were a month beyond that. And we thought, you know, here it is. You know, the kids were low income. Almost all of them were low income. And that really had nothing to do with the fact that they could learn. So we were just really pleased with that.
That's good. You know, I hear they're saying also that kindergarten is the new first grade. I mean, nowadays you have to really teach a child. It's not just the ABCs at home, but you actually have to read to children, you know, get them to want to, I mean, they're natural sponges for this, I guess.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, this pulls me into the next question. You're now chairing another organization, and this organization is the United Partners for Public Education in Buffalo.
Correct.
Tell me about that organization. How was that?
Well, I actually retired from Read to Succeed Buffalo in May.
You can be doing anything you want in the world right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's, you know, I wanted to be that free agent, so to speak, and, you know, while the work at Read to Succeed was important, I knew that Ann Ryan, who took over after me, was my successor, would do a wonderful job at taking that organization forward. But I felt that I really wanted to be involved in the more global and systemic issues that were facing the district. So United Partners was born when a group of us came together. They're basically community activists, organizations active in public education. And we came together to say, you know, we would have a stronger voice if we could focus what we want to work on and have a single voice. So while each of the agencies involved still does their own thing, we've decided that the most urgent, time-sensitive issue right now is the persistently low-achieving schools. So we wanted to put some attention on that.
Okay, now tell me, who are the organizations at the table? Because I know everybody's going to want to know who are all the organizations involved in the United Partners?
The District Parent Coordinating Council, you and Sam sit on United Partners. We have Jessica Bauer-Walker from the Community Health Worker Network, which is doing a lot with asset-based community development and bottom-up decision-making. We have Buffalo Reform Ed, which has been a very active organization in public education and holding folks accountable, and that's Henya Boulis. And we have Kim Wallach, who's with the Parent Network of Western New York. We have Jim Anderson and Brian McIntyre, who are community activists in their own right and work with Citizen Action and Alliance for Quality Education. So it's a small group, and it's a small group by design, because we really, you know, we knew we had to build a foundation. You know, we had to build the direction of the organization and feel comfortable among ourselves before we began to broaden what we do and who we involve.
What are some of the most pressing issues that UP is working on now? You said the PLA schools.
Yeah.
What are the most pressing issues in the district now that you see that we have to try to fight?
Yeah. Well, we're using the issue of the PLA schools to, I guess I would say, argue for three things.
Okay.
One is transparency. You know, we need the district not to be behind closed doors on the 7th or 8th floors of City Hall making decisions that we don't know about until they're done, and often havoc is created. So we want transparency. We want to know what's going on, and we want it timely. We don't want it after the fact. You know, the other thing is involvement. We want to push community involvement. United Partners, as one of their core beliefs, believes that schools can't do the job alone. And if you look at the outcomes, I rest my case. They can't do it alone. So community must be involved. Parents are probably the most important. There is absolutely no study that I have ever read about student achievement that doesn't say that parents are the biggest influence. And we have to be involved at every level, from giving our kids a good breakfast in the morning to making sure they go to sleep on time at night, that they do their homework, that we ask them about what they did in school today. But also we need to be involved in the decisions that are made for our children. Who knows our children better than our parents? Who knows our children better than the community they come from? So involvement is really important, and we want to do that. You know, if we could write the script, we'd want to do it as seamlessly as possible with the school district. But we will insist on that involvement of community and schools. And then the last, I would say, is accountability. You know, we can't keep doing what we've been doing. It's just not acceptable, you know, and I ask myself, and I think we do at United Partners, you know, when does it have to be bad enough for us to get involved big time? You know, and how you know, we have to be involved, or I think we would be derelict in our responsibility. You know, so United Partners is about organizing the community around those three issues, and that's what we want for ourselves and for the district to recognize, that the community needs these things and will insist on these things.
Wow. So there's an event coming up. There's an event. Tell me about this event that's coming up.
Yeah, we've got a community forum. United Partners and their, you know, their related agencies are sponsoring on Thursday, this very coming Thursday, November 17th. It's going to be at Waterfront School from 6 to 8. We're inviting anyone in the community who cares about our kids and cares about education to come. We'll have it in the auditorium at Waterfront School. Parents can bring children, and we'll have fun things for the kids to do. And what we're going to do there is, basically to focus on the PLA schools, talk about the 4 intervention models that are permitted by the state, the federal government. We will actually have a historical timeline to tell the folks who come what has been the process that's been used in the last couple of years for the PLA schools for selecting the models and determining the plans. And we'll even have a little skit, so some of our members will be playing the roles of the superintendent or the Buffalo Teachers Federation president or parents. So it'll be kind of fun. And the superintendent will be there. So Amber Dixon will come and she will talk to us about where we are in the process right now for this round of PLA schools that we're dealing with right now. What we really want to get out of this, I think, is to be able to engage more of the community, to let them know what's going on with the PLA schools so they can be involved, not just for this round, but because there are other schools that are designated PLA schools where the same, I hope it's not the same process, but a process has to be gone through in order to determine the models and the plans for those schools. And by the way, this is supposed to be about dramatic change, not tinkering around the edges, not incremental change, but dramatic change. We need dramatic change because what's been done has not worked.
You're right. So what you're saying is we're going to take a sledgehammer to the way it is now, crack it down, and then start all over again. This is what you're saying, to rebuild it from the ground up is what we need to do in our district?
Well, I think we need to look at the good things and keep those,
what are the
but
good
throw
things?
Out all the rest.
What are the good things that you know?
I think we have...
Let's asset map our district right now.
Yeah, no, I think we have a lot of students who are very smart.
Yes.
Who want to be able to do the work. I think we have a lot of dedicated teachers. Don't forget, teachers have a curriculum, and I can tell you from when I was on the board till now, I don't know of any real sincere attempt for district officials to talk to teachers on the ground level. I mean, we often hear from the Buffalo Teachers Federation, but we've got such dedicated teachers who I think would be able to tell us a lot about what they need in the classroom. And students too. I mean, they're right there in the classroom. They can tell us what their experience is, what they would like to see done differently. But they're, the students are intelligent, the teachers are good, parents want to be more involved.
Now, I heard you say at our
beautiful new buildings.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard you say at our last DPCC meeting, you talked about, I think you were standing up in the audience, and you talked about a young person that had made a comment that kind of impacted you. A young lady had said something that stuck with you.
Yeah.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with this young lady and what it was that she said.
Well, I didn't even meet her. I just read about it.
Oh, you just read about it? Okay.
I just read about it. It was at the African Cultural Center. They had an evening where they gave students an opportunity to speak out about education. And one of the questions that was asked was if there was one thing that you could do to make education better for you. This particular young lady said that she would change the teachers. And it's what she talked about is respect. She said that when kids are disciplined, it's not with respect. And so she would like to be dealt with as a young person in a high school with respect and with more involvement, that the teachers sometimes need to understand the children better so they can love, and that goes back to that relationship building you were talking about at the beginning of the program. Yeah, so it resonated with me because frankly, one of the models, one of the intervention models for persistently low achieving schools is the one where the principal is replaced and half the teachers are removed and new teachers are brought in. And that was summarily dismissed after a lot of planning and preparation. But here's a student that...
What model was that? That was the turnaround model? Which model was that?
I'm trying to think. It was the turnaround model or maybe the transformation model. Right. So, you know, that was dismissed, and, you know, the EPO model was brought up, or what was called the restart model. And so we had like 18 days, a district had 18 days to issue an RFP for educational partnership organizations, and 12 days for them to respond, which is ridiculous when you think about how much dramatic change has to go into a school to give people 12 days to come up with a plan, for curriculum and
a whole
involvement
year to
and
come up with a plan, basically.
Yeah, so
You really
something's
do.
got to be different,
Okay.
and somebody's got to say that the status quo isn't working. We can't do it. We have a tremendous opportunity to do something radically different, and that's what we need to do.
And that's what we need to do.
That's what we need to
Now,
do.
you've been doing a lot of writing lately. You've had some articles in our Buffalo News.
Right.
Tell me about those articles, what it was that you were speaking on, and how, what was it that moved you to do the writing?
Yeah, well, you know, it was, I think in large measure, my frustration with the district and how this process, particularly again with these low achieving schools, was going, because it just seemed to be so muddled and so poorly done that, you know, I felt the district needed to be held accountable for that. You know, we're talking about real lives. We're talking about real children. We're talking about, you know, kids who have their whole lives ahead of them. And if they don't get that basic foundation now, you know, we know how many kids we're losing. We know how many kids are dropping out of school. You know, that's just not acceptable. And I'm frustrated because it's an adult problem.
It is.
Adults made the problem, and adults have to resolve the problem.
But the children have to suffer through
That's right.
the consequences
Right.
of the problem that we've created as
That's
adults.
exactly right. And, you know, that's, I mean, I don't have to say this, a tremendous loss of human potential. And so, you know, writing that article, you know, about the process and how convoluted it was, how, as I could tell, only one entity had any influence on the decision, and that was the Buffalo Teachers Federation. And like I said in the article, teachers are important stakeholders. They should have a voice, but not to the exclusion of everyone else.
Right.
And you know, and I also wanted to highlight the community forum coming up on November 17th, because that's our opportunity, the community's opportunity to begin this dialogue that says we cannot accept the status quo anymore, and we want something different.
Yes. What do you think about a new, and I don't know if I should say this, but different, as in Phil Rumore has been BTF president for how long now?
I heard 30 years.
30
well,
years, yeah.
That's
30
close
years.
enough. A long time.
We want something different. I mean, nothing against Mr. Rumore. He's a great guy, and he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He's protecting his interests.
Exactly.
He's taking care of those he's responsible for.
Yeah.
But what about us? I'm a mother.
Yeah.
I have 3 children in the district, and I'm responsible for each one of my 3 children, and not just my children, but all of the children, their friends,
Right.
you know. I'm responsible for all of them. And so something different, you're right, something different has to change. The thing of it is how is it going to change? When is it going to change? Who's going to make the change? Those are all the questions that have to be answered. And the honest answer is it starts with me.
It does.
And it starts with you.
It
It starts with, you know, who all's going to come to this community forum on the 17th? Who's invited to that?
Like I said before, anyone who has an interest in children, who wants to stand up for kids, who wants to see changes made, who wants to get a better understanding of what's going on, who wants to be with people who think like them and believe there has to be dramatic change and more accountability, who wants to be people who want to be part of the solution. We need their voices.
Yeah, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, whoever needs to be here needs to be here on the 17th.
Yeah.
We need our faith-based organizations to come out, our community-based organizations to come out. We need parents to come out. We want the teachers to come out. We want our medical practitioners to come out, because all of us are affected in one way or another by the failing of our children in these schools.
Yeah.
You know, we want our mayor to come out. We want our county executives to come out. We want our common council members to come out and stand up and be a part of this process, because something has to change, and it has to change now, not yesterday.
Right.
You know, we have to do it today.
We can't change what happened yesterday or the day before or the years past. But we have a terrific opportunity from this point forward to make that change. And where there are unions, and I happen to be a proponent of labor, but you know, they're organized and they have a lot of influence. Children don't have a union. Parents don't have a union. If we don't organize ourselves so that we have at least as much influence as the union on what happens to our children, well then shame on us.
Shame on us.
Shame on us.
I don't want it to be said, shame on you for not taking care of what I've given you. God has given us these children, these beautiful, beautiful children, these beautiful, beautiful minds. And if we're not nurturing them and nourishing them and growing them, you know, and grooming them to be responsible adults, what's going to happen when we're, you know, at least I know for me, when I would love for my children to be in a responsible position in the years to come so that they can be productive members of society. Yeah, without that, what are we going to do?
And we know they have the capacity. I mean, I've seen that. I've seen that in the data. When, you know, when you do the right things, when you have the right curriculum, when you make it fun, when you're serious about it, you know, when you collect data and you know what the child needs in terms of help to get to the goals, they come up to that challenge. They come up to that challenge. But, you know, to be sit there and lecture to so many kids say they're bored or disrespected, you know, or not cared about.
And we got to start from the ground up. Everything's been done from the top down.
Absolutely.
It's now time for a ground up approach, and that's what we're going to do starting this November 17th, this Thursday coming up. We're going to have the community forum on Our Children, Our Voice.
That's it.
Let our audience know. We're down to the last couple of minutes. You speak to them, tell them emphatically whatever it is that you need to say so that we can make sure everybody comes out that's going to be there.
Okay. I guess I would reiterate what I said before, and that is we have maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity right now to deal with the Buffalo school system to protect our children. We have any number of persistently low-achieving schools. There was an article in today's paper about 16 Buffalo schools being designated schools in need of improvement. You know, we don't need a bomb to tell us that there's a problem. There's a big problem. And every one of us, you, me, Tricia, every one of us has to be part of that solution. We need to come out on November 17th to learn about the persistent low-achieving schools, to understand how we can be a part of the solution, to give our voices and our strength to the movement to do what's right for children. This is our chance to do dramatic improvement of the schools, not tinkering around the edges. We all need to be there, and I hope that you will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Helene, for coming. It was a wonderful show, wonderful time talking with you.
Thanks for having me.
So, thank you, everybody, for sitting with us again at the Education Roundtable. Thanks to Ms. Helene Kramer for coming out and sharing what United Partners for Public Education is doing. We'll see you on the 17th.
Hi, I'm Helene Kramer, Chairwoman of United Partners for Public Education in Buffalo, inviting all of you who care about children, who care about the kind of education your children are getting, even if you're, if you're parents, if you're from a community-based organization, if you're in the faith community, if you care about kids and what's going on with them in the Buffalo Public Schools, we invite you to a community forum on Thursday, November 17th. That's next Thursday, November 17th, at the Waterfront School from 6 to 8 o'clock in the evening. If you're a parent and you want to bring children, we'll have fun activities for them to do so that you can be part of the forum. This is our opportunity to learn about what's going on specifically with our persistently low achieving schools, to hear the superintendent talk about where we are in the process of planning, and to have your voices heard. It's incredibly important for our children. Please come November 17th, next Thursday, 6 to 8 at Waterfront School. Thanks so much.